Alright, so I don't normally do tutorials or video tutorials, but I've seen a lot of people on the thread talk about having trouble getting started with music. So this is just a really simple little thing showing how quick it is to get something fairly simple running. I'm using Fruity Loops Studio 11, but the concept should be fairly similar across other digital audio workstations. I'm working entirely with the 3x oscillator, which should be standard with Fruity Loops. You can find it right here. And then also working with the Fruity drum synth, which is an extremely simple MIDI-esque drum synthesizer, which you should be able to find right here. I have like the most basic or second most basic version of FL Studio, so most of you should have these features available. We're actually going to be working in song mode. We have a bunch of different patterns set up. I normally do everything in one huge pattern, but it seems like whenever I watch videos, everyone's usually working in the song creator. So if you double click on the patterns, you can see your playlist here. So this essentially lets you do is set up one riff and then loop it, and then kind of just use bits and pieces to assemble a song rather than copy pasting notes and whatnot. So we're gonna go over to pattern mode real quick here, and so first we just have a really simple melody. I'm gonna turn the bass volume down a tiny bit. So what you really want to start with is it can be a chord, or it can be a simple little riff like this. And Fruity Loops has a bunch of built-in chords here. So honestly, you can just go through here and pick one that sounds good and then adjust it. Find a song that you really like and borrow a chord from that and tweak it a bit. Just something for a starting point. So here we just have an extremely simple 4-note riff. And then we also have a really simple bass line, which is also just another synth here. So nothing fancy, it's all pretty simple. So then you go in here and you can see that I have that first pattern, which is the melody, and then the melody plus a bass line, and then the melody plus the bass line plus a really simple drum beat, which I have set up here in drum synth. It's just a really simple quarter note kick beat. And then in pattern 4, the drum beat gets a little more varied. I add a little bit of shaker in there. So when you go and listen to it in song form with everything stacked up, it starts really simple and stuff just adds into it. And then because variety is a spice of life, if you just repeated that over and over again, it would eventually get very tiring on the ears. So once you've established a really simple melody or a really simple formula that you really like, what you want to do is you want to vary on that. So you can add in more notes to it to make new chords. What I've done here is I've done a bit of a key change. So there's a little break pattern here, which is just a really simple bass transition. Whoops, back to pattern mode. Which establishes the key change from this like A and E thing over here to more of G's and D's. And then there's also a pattern 11 is a drum fill that kind of accompanies that little transition. Super simple. And then after that, it changes to a key change, kind of a version of the original, but in a slightly different key. So then we have and then the bass line changes slightly as well. And then there's another final pattern over here that expounds upon the first one. So when you listen to the whole thing plus that break, we'll actually start about here. So I guess that fifth pattern is a little complex, so if I were actually trying to perfect this, I might come in here and simplify it a bit. Take a few notes out of there, because that's a few too many, so it sounds a little complicated, or a little chaotic. And I forgot to mention pattern 6 here. Generally, if you pay attention to most music, you'll have like either a pad or a synthesizer or some kind of string that is playing just really long sustained notes that are pretty quiet, and they don't really serve as the meat of the song, but they kind of serve to fill the gaps, so there aren't, you don't listen to it and you're like, man, it kind of sounds like there's just 3 people in a room and it's pretty empty other than that. So there's just a really simple sine plus a little bit of buzz wave here, and then it has a little bit of LFO on it just to make it a little warbly. So that's what you were hearing in the background there. So then if you play the whole thing back, you get that build up, and then into this bit here. I'm actually going to take that pattern off and just replicate pattern 7. And then you could always go back to what you had before. Just the original, switch back to the original key. You could take this and build off of it. But I mean, really, it's pretty simple to establish just something that sounds fairly decent, and just go with it. So that's about it. Like I said, I guess I hadn't mentioned it. Like, I'm entirely self-taught. I didn't take music theory or anything like that. So there might be some gaping holes in my technique and what I'm trying to explain here. But hopefully that's simple enough to at least kind of show you how to get a really good start.